I'm sorry, but we're going to have to let you go. The words hung in the conference room like a death sentence. Lily Chen, 5 months pregnant and the operations manager who turned Denver International Airport's cargo division from a $2 million loss into a $15 million profit in just 3 years, stared at the man across the mahogany table. Her husband. No, her boss. No, both. David Martinez sat there in his tailored navy suit, his face a mask of professional indifference, flanked by 2 HR representatives who wouldn't meet her eyes. Excuse me? Lily's hand instinctively moved to her rounded belly. You're firing me. Terminating your position. David corrected, his voice cold and clinical. Due to restructuring needs and performance concerns. Performance concerns. Lily would have laughed if she wasn't so shocked. She'd just secured the biggest contract in the division's history last month, a 10-year deal with FedEx worth $200 million. She'd personally negotiated it while battling morning sickness so severe she kept a trash can under her desk. David, what are you? She started, but he cut her off with a raised hand. Mr. Martinez, in professional settings, please. His dark eyes were empty, devoid of the warmth that used to be there when he looked at her. And I'd appreciate if you'd let me finish. Lily was 32 years old, and until this moment, she'd thought she understood her life. She and David had been married for 4 years. They'd met when she was a junior analyst and he was the ambitious VP determined to modernize his family's regional airport. He'd promoted her based on merit, or so she'd believed. 3 months ago, when she told him about the pregnancy, he'd smiled and kissed her forehead and said all the right things about their future. But looking at him now, Lily realized she'd been blind. Willfully, stupidly blind. We're bringing in someone with fresh perspective, David continued, sliding a folder across the table. Someone whose personal situation won't interfere with the demands of this position. Personal situation? Lily's voice shook. You mean being pregnant with your child? One of the HR representatives, Janet, who'd been at their wedding, shifted uncomfortably. The other, a new hire Lily didn't know, kept his eyes fixed on his laptop. I mean someone who can commit to the 60-hour weeks this position requires? David's jaw tightened. Someone without divided loyalties. The conference room door opened, and Lily's world imploded. The woman who walked in was stunning. 26, maybe 27, with a kind of polished perfection that came from personal trainers and expensive salons. Amber Rodriguez wore a cream silk blouse and black pencil skirt that showed off her figure, the figure of someone who definitely wasn't 5 months pregnant. Her smile was confident, almost predatory. Sorry I'm late, Amber said, her voice honey-sweet. Traffic was insane. No problem. David's face transformed, warmth flooding back into his expression, the expression Lily hadn't seen directed at her in months. Lily, this is Amber Rodriguez. She be taking over your position effective immediately. The room tilted. Lily gripped the edge of the table. Amber extended her hand across the table, and that's when Lily saw it. The delicate gold bracelet on Amber's wrist. The one with the small airplane charm. The one David had bought for their 2nd anniversary, telling Lily it represented their journey together. Lily still wore hers, or she had until 2 months ago, when the clasp mysteriously broke. It hadn't broken. He'd given it to someone else. It's so nice to finally meet you, Amber said, her smile widening. David's told me so much about you. About how you've been struggling lately. How the pregnancy has been difficult. Lily's hand moved instinctively to her belly again. Protective. She'd been struggling because David had suddenly started working late every night. Because he'd stopped asking about her doctor's appointments. Because he'd moved into the guest room, claiming her pregnancy insomnia was affecting his sleep. How long? Lily's voice came out as a whisper. How long what? David's tone was carefully neutral. How long have you been sleeping with her? The HR representatives both flinched. Amber's smile faltered for just a second before returning, even brighter. David's expression never changed. That's inappropriate, Lily, he said. This is a professional termination based solely on business needs. But Lily was remembering now. Small things she dismissed. The new cologne 6 months ago. The suddenly locked phone. The weekend conference in Vegas that David had insisted was men only, no spouses. The way he'd flinched when she'd suggested they start looking at baby furniture. "She's been in my emails," Lily said suddenly, her mind clicking pieces together. "The FedEx contract. I kept finding files moved, notes changed. I thought it was a system glitch, but it was you, wasn't it?" She looked at Amber. "He gave you access to my accounts so you could learn my job, while you were sleeping with my husband." "This meeting is over." David stood abruptly. "Janet, please escort Lily to collect her personal items. Security will supervise." Security. The word hit Lily like a slap. She'd given 3 years of 70-hour weeks to this airport. She'd sacrificed sleep, health, and apparently her marriage. And now she was being treated like a criminal. "You planned this," Lily said, standing slowly. Her voice was eerily calm now, the shock crystallizing into something harder. "You got me pregnant, waited until I was far enough along that losing this job would destroy me, and then you replaced me with her. How long have you been planning this, David? 6 months? A year?" David's jaw clenched, the only tell that she'd struck a nerve. "Your severance package is generous. 2 months' salary. Sign the NDA, and we can all move forward." NDA. Non-disclosure agreement. He wanted to silence her. "Sign it, and you get the severance and your health insurance through delivery," Janet added quietly, sympathy finally showing in her eyes. "Don't sign it, and you leave with nothing." Amber had moved to stand beside David, close enough that their shoulders touched. She was already home in Lily's office, Lily's position, Lily's life, and the way David's hand briefly touched the small of Amber's back casual, familiar, possessive told Lily everything she needed to know about how long this had been going on. "I built that cargo division from nothing," Lily said softly. "Every contract, every relationship, every system. That was me. Not you, David. You were just the name on the door. And now that name on the door is making an executive decision," David replied. "Sign the papers or don't. Either way, you're done here." Lily looked at the NDA on the table. 2 months' salary. Health insurance. Nothing else. No explanation. No accountability. No justice. She thought about her baby, growing inside her. About the apartment she could barely afford on her own. About starting over pregnant and alone, with a fired-for-cause mark on her employment record. Something cold settled in her chest. Not panic, not despair. Something else entirely. "I need a pen," she said. Relief flickered across David's face. He thought he'd won. They all did. Lily signed the NDA with steady hands, her signature a temporary surrender. But as she stood, gathering what remained of her dignity, she caught Amber's expression smug, triumphant. Already mentally redecorating Lily's office, they had no idea what they'd just created. If you're wondering how someone could be this cruel, this calculated, you're not alone. But here's what David and Amber didn't know. Lily Chen hadn't gotten to operations manager by being weak. She'd gotten there by being smarter than everyone else in the room. And if you want to see what happens when you push a brilliant woman too far, you'll want to stick around for this story. The security guard who escorted Lily to her office was Tommy, a 23-year-old she personally hired 8 months ago when his single mother needed help with medical bills. He wouldn't look at her as they walked through the cargo terminal, past crews who'd worked under her leadership, past the break room where she'd fought for better benefits and won. "I'm sorry, Miss Chen," Tommy whispered as they reached her office door. "I didn't know they were going to." "It's okay." Lily's voice was mechanical. "Just doing your job." Her office had already been violated. The family photo on her desk, her and David at Lake Tahoe, his hand on her not yet pregnant stomach, both of them laughing, was gone. The motivational plaques she'd earned were stacked in a cardboard box. Even her favorite coffee mug, the one that said, "She believed she could. So she did," had been removed. Amber was already making herself at home. Lily packed quickly. "Personal items only," they'd said. No files, no documents, no evidence of the 3 years she'd poured into this place. As she reached for the framed photo of her late mother, her phone buzzed. A text from David. "Don't make this harder than it needs to be. You'll be fine." Then another. Doctor's appointment at 3 p.m. is cancelled. You're off my insurance as of 5 p.m. today. COBRA paperwork is with Janet. Lily's hands trembled. He'd already called her obstetrician and cancelled her appointment. The appointment where she was supposed to find out the baby's gender. The appointment they'd scheduled together 6 weeks ago, when he'd still been pretending to care. 5 p.m. That gave her 4 hours before she lost health coverage. 4 hours before she'd be a pregnant woman with a pre-existing condition and no insurance. The Cobra extension would cost $1,800 a month, money she didn't have without her salary. Her phone buzzed again. This time a photo. It was Amber sitting in Lily's chair, feet up on Lily's desk, holding Lily's she believed she could. So she did, mug. The caption. New office, who dis? The message wasn't sent to Lily. It was posted on Instagram, tagged #bossbabe, #newbeginnings, #living my best life. But Amber had made sure Lily's personal Instagram was tagged in the comments. At Lily Chun Denver, thanks for keeping the chair warm. Tommy saw Lily's face and quickly looked away. 5 minutes, Miss Chun, he said quietly. Then I have to walk you out. Lily's mind was racing now, pulling up memories she'd suppressed. 3 months ago, David had insisted they refinance their mortgage. Better rates, he'd said. She'd signed the paperwork without reading it carefully. They were married, she trusted him. 2 months ago, he'd suggested she remove her name from their joint business account. Cleaner for taxes, he'd explained. She'd agreed because she'd been exhausted from first trimester nausea, and he'd made it sound reasonable. Last month, he'd casually mentioned that his lawyer friend was updating their will. Just a formality, nothing to worry about. Lily had been so focused on growing their baby that she'd signed whatever he'd put in front of her. She pulled out her phone and opened her banking app with shaking fingers. Their joint account, the one with her salary deposits, the one they'd used for everything, showed a balance of $247. 3 months ago, it had held over $80,000. Her personal savings account, the one she'd had since college, had been closed. The mortgage on their house in Cherry Creek showed only David's name. He'd been planning this for months, systematically removing her from everything while she'd been too in love, too trusting, too pregnant to notice. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. Miss Chun? This is Riverside Luxury Apartments. I'm calling about your lease violation. Lease violation? Lily pressed a hand to her forehead. What are you talking about? Your husband, I'm sorry, Mr. Martinez, came by this morning. He said you'd moved out, wanted to terminate the lease early. But you're both on the lease, so we need your signature on the termination paperwork. There's a penalty fee of $8,000. Lily's apartment, the one she'd lived in before marrying David, the one she'd kept just in case, the safety net she'd been too embarrassed to admit she wanted. David had always hated that she'd kept it, called it a waste of money, and a sign she wasn't committed to their marriage. Now she understood why he'd suddenly insisted on being added to the lease 6 months ago. For emergencies, he'd said. I didn't authorize any termination, Lily said, her voice hardening. Don't let him. Ma'am. He already removed all the furniture this morning. Said you'd call to finish the paperwork. If you don't sign by tomorrow, you're in breach of contract. The furniture, her grandmother's antique dresser, her mother's favorite reading chair, the bed she'd bought with her first paycheck. Gone. Time's up, Miss Chun. Tommy was standing in the doorway, genuinely apologetic but clearly under orders. Lily grabbed her box of personal items and followed him out. They walked through the terminal in silence, past the operations center she'd designed, past the crew scheduling board she'd implemented, past the safety awards the division had won under her leadership. At the main exit, David was waiting. Not alone. Amber stood beside him, her hand resting possessively on his arm. They were laughing about something comfortable and intimate in a way that spoke of months, maybe years, of familiarity. When they saw Lily approaching, Amber didn't step away. Instead, she moved closer, her message clear. I won. I had your car towed from the executive lot, David said without preamble. You're not authorized to park there anymore. It's at the impound lot on Brighton Boulevard. $350 to retrieve it. Lily's car. The Audi she bought herself with her first bonus. The one with the car seat already installed in the back. You're really going to make a pregnant woman take an Uber to an impound lot? The words came out flat, emotionless. I'm really going to enforce parking policy for former employees, David replied. You're not special, Lily. You never were. You were just convenient. Amber's smile widened. She was enjoying this. The FedEx contract you're so proud of? David continued, apparently not done twisting the knife. I negotiated that. You just handled the paperwork. Everyone here knows it. That's why nobody objected when I explained we were making a change. It was a lie. Lily had the emails, the call logs, the negotiation notes all in her personal cloud storage, backed up obsessively because she'd always documented everything. But David didn't know that. He thought he'd won. Amber starts officially on Monday, David added. She's already got some great ideas for restructuring. Fresh perspective, like I said. He glanced at Amber with genuine affection. The look he used to give Lily. She's brilliant. Really brilliant. She's a secretary, Lily said quietly. Amber's smile finally cracked. Executive assistant, she snapped. And I have an MBA from Colorado State online program. Graduated last year with a 2.8 GPA. Lily's voice was still calm, almost pleasant. I know. I saw your resume when David hired you as his assistant 14 months ago. Impressive how quickly you've moved up. 14 months. The number hung in the air. That was before Lily got pregnant. Before their marriage started falling apart. David's face went carefully blank, the tell that confirmed everything. This is sad, Amber said, recovering quickly. Honestly, Lily, just go home. You're embarrassing yourself. I don't have a home, Lily replied. Your boyfriend terminated my lease this morning. Something flickered in David's eyes. Not guilt calculation. He was measuring whether he'd left any loose ends. You'll figure it out, he said finally. You're resourceful. That's what you always told me, right? How you put yourself through college. How you worked 3 jobs. How nothing ever stopped you. His smile was cruel now. So don't stop now. Tommy shifted uncomfortably beside Lily, clearly wishing he was anywhere else. Lily looked at David, really looked at him. At the man she'd loved, trusted, built a life with. The man whose child was growing inside her. And she realized with crystal clarity that he'd never loved her. She'd been a convenience. A competent employee who'd made him look good. The pregnancy hadn't changed things. It had just given him an excuse to do what he'd been planning all along. You know what the worst part is? Lily said softly. I actually loved you. Really loved you. I would have given you anything. I know, David replied. That's what made you so easy to manipulate. Amber laughed. Actually laughed, and the sound echoed across the terminal entrance. Lily adjusted the cardboard box in her arms, feeling the weight of her mother's photo, her degrees, the remnants of her professional life. Her baby kicked, a small flutter against her ribs, reminder, a promise. I hope you're both very happy, Lily said. She meant it to sound defeated. But something in her tone made David's eyes narrow slightly, made Amber's smile falter for just a second. We will be, Amber said quickly, uncertainly. Lily walked away without looking back, leaving them standing in her former workplace, in her former life. She called an Uber with hands that no longer shook, with a mind that was no longer in shock. Because here's what David Martinez didn't know about Lily Chen. She'd grown up poor in a Denver trailer park with a single mother who'd taught her that survival wasn't about being the strongest or the richest. It was about being smarter, more patient, more willing to do whatever it took. Lily had 3 college degrees, fluency in 4 languages, and a decade of experience in an industry David's family had only owned, never actually understood. She had something else too, something David had just made the fatal mistake of triggering. She had absolutely nothing left to lose. The Motel 6 on East Colfax Avenue smelled like cigarettes and desperation. Lily paid for a week with her emergency credit card. The one David didn't know about because she'd opened it with her mother's maiden name years ago. Room 127 had a sagging mattress, a bathroom with questionable stains, and a view of a gas station. It was $43 a night. It was all she could afford. She sat on the edge of the bed, her hand on her belly, and let herself cry for exactly 10 minutes. Then she stopped, washed her face in the rust-stained sink, and opened her laptop. The first thing she did was change every password David might know. Email, cloud storage, banking, everything. The second thing she did was download every file from her work cloud before David thought to revoke her access. Contracts, emails, financial records, meeting notes, 3 years of documentation that proved exactly who had built the cargo division's success. The third thing she did was call her mother's oldest friend, Maria Santos, attorney at law. The voice on the other end was warm, familiar. "Maria, it's Lily Chen. I need help." There was a pause. "Lily? Sweetheart, I haven't heard from you since your mother's funeral. What's wrong?" Lily explained everything. The firing, the affair, the systematic financial abuse, the stolen apartment, the canceled insurance. Her voice stayed steady until she got to the part about David removing her from their house deed while she was pregnant. "That son of a bitch," Maria said flatly. "Where are you right now?" "Motel 6 on Colfax. Pack your things." "You're staying with me until we figure this out." Maria Santos lived in a modest townhouse in Capitol Hill, filled with legal books and photos of her late husband. She was 63, semi-retired, and had spent 40 years specializing in employment law and family court. She'd loved Lily's mother like a sister. "He's been planning this for at least 6 months," Maria said that evening, reviewing the documents Lily had brought. They sat at Maria's kitchen table, Lily wrapped in a borrowed bathrobe, finally warm and safe. "Look at the timeline. He refinanced your house and removed your name in March. That's when the affair probably started getting serious. 14 months ago, Lily corrected quietly. "That's when he hired Amber. I didn't want to believe it, but the math adds up." Maria's expression darkened. "He hired his mistress, gave her access to your work, trained her to replace you, then fired you while pregnant and stole your assets. This isn't just betrayal, Lily. This is fraud. This is embezzlement. This is a dozen different crimes. But I signed an NDA obtained under duress, signed by a pregnant woman who'd just been illegally terminated, is worth less than the paper it's printed on." Maria tapped the document with one manicured nail. "He gave you 2 months severance to keep you quiet. Know what you're entitled to under Colorado law for wrongful termination while pregnant? Try 6 figures. Minimum." Something stirred in Lily's chest. Not hope, not yet, but possibility. "Can we prove wrongful termination?" she asked. "Honey, you just handed me 3 years of emails where you single-handedly negotiated every major contract. You've got meeting notes proving you designed the entire operational system. You've got employee reviews that are glowing until exactly the moment you announced your pregnancy." Maria smiled grimly. "We can prove it. Question is, what do you want? Your job back? Financial compensation? Or do you want to destroy him?" Lily was quiet for a long moment, her hand resting on her belly. The baby kicked, strong and insistent. "I want my son to grow up knowing his mother isn't a victim," she said finally. "I want David and Amber to lose everything they stole from me. And I want every woman who's ever been pushed out for being pregnant to see that there are consequences." Maria's smile widened. "Now you're talking. Let's start digging." Over the next 3 weeks, Lily became someone new, someone harder, someone smarter. She spent her days in Maria's home office, methodically going through every document, every email, every financial record. She created spreadsheets tracking David's expenses, timeline analyses of when furniture disappeared from her apartment, comparisons of her performance reviews before and after pregnancy. She found things. David had been embezzling from the cargo division for at least a year. Small amounts at first, $5,000 here, $10,000 there, routed through fake vendor accounts. Then larger sums as he got bolder. He'd been using Lily's access codes and digital signature to authorize the transfers, making it look like she was the one stealing. "He was setting you up," Maria said, staring at the screen. "If anyone ever audited the books, you'd be the fall guy. That's why he fired you now before the annual audit in 2 months." He needs you gone and silenced before anyone notices the missing money. Lily's hands had stopped shaking. Her tears had dried up. What remained was cold, calculated fury. How much has he stolen? At least $2.3 million. Probably more if we dig deeper. Lily sat back, her mind racing. $2.3 million. That's what her marriage had been worth to David. That's what he'd traded her and their baby for. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Amber. Just wanted you to know David and I are engaged. Getting married next month in CABO. Thanks for the promotion, couldn't have done it without you. The message included a photo. Amber's hand, showcasing an enormous diamond ring. In the background, partially visible, was Lily's grandmother's antique dresser. They were living in her furniture. Spending stolen money. Getting married while Lily's baby grew without a father who cared. Maria saw Lily's face and grabbed the phone. She read the message, her jaw tightening. They're taunting you. This is harassment. No, Lily said quietly. This is evidence. Screenshot it. Save everything she sends. She's building our case for us. You're learning. Maria smiled approvingly. That night, Lily couldn't sleep. She stood at Maria's window, looking out at the Denver skyline, at the airport lights blinking in the distance. The airport she'd helped build. The airport that bore David's family name but ran on her innovations. Her phone rang. The hospital? Ms. Chun? This is Presbyterian Hospital billing. You have an outstanding balance of $8,400 for emergency room services from last week. Last week. When Lily had gone to the O with severe cramping, terrified she was losing the baby. She'd been alone because David had been in meetings. The baby was fine, but the bills weren't. I was told my insurance would cover. Your insurance was terminated effective October 15th. You're responsible for the full amount. If you can't pay within 30 days, we'll send it to collections. October 15th, the day David fired her. Lily hung up and added it to her growing list. Medical debt. Motel expenses she'd racked up before Maria took her in. The impound fee for her car. The penalty for the apartment lease David had fraudulently terminated. She was $30,000 in debt and 5 months pregnant. But she was still standing. Her laptop pinged. An email from her former assistant, Jessica, a 24-year-old who'd worked directly under Lily for 2 years. Miss Chun, I know I'm not supposed to contact you, but I can't stay silent. Amber doesn't know what she's doing. She's already lost the Lufthansa contract because she didn't understand the maintenance scheduling requirements. She blamed it on outdated systems you left behind. Mr. Martinez backed her up. But the crews know the truth. We all know the truth. I'm so sorry about what happened to you. I'm looking for another job. I can't work for these people. If you ever need anything, references, testimony, whatever, I'm here. Lily read the email 3 times. Then she replied, Thank you, Jessica. I'll remember that. 2 days later, another email. This one from Robert Kim, the cargo terminal supervisor who'd worked at the airport for 20 years. Lily, I'm retiring early. Can't stomach what's happening. Amber's restructuring is destroying everything you built. Yesterday, she fired Miguel, best mechanic we had, because he questioned her authority by pointing out a safety violation. I'm copying you on some documents you might find interesting. They're from Amber's personal email to David, accidentally sent to the terminal-wide list last week. She's not tech-savvy. Delete this email after reading. The attachment was a thread of messages between David and Amber, discussing their CABO wedding, paid for with the Denver Merger Fund. The Denver Merger Fund, the one that was supposed to bring a major European airline to the cargo terminal. The one worth $800,000. They were stealing it for their wedding. Lily forwarded everything to Maria. This is good, Maria said the next morning. This is very good, but we need more. We need something public, something undeniable, something that doesn't just prove he's a thief, something that proves he's incompetent without you. The FAA audit? Lily said suddenly. It's scheduled for December 15th. That's in 6 weeks. Amber has no idea what she's looking at. She doesn't understand the safety protocols, the maintenance schedules, the regulatory requirements. Without me managing that data, the division will fail inspection. And if they fail, the cargo division gets shut down pending remediation. David's family loses their operating license. The airport loses millions. Maria leaned back, considering. So we let them fail? No. Lily's smile was sharp and cold. We help them fail. Spectacularly. Over the next 3 weeks, Lily executed the first phase of her plan. She couldn't access airport systems directly. She'd been locked out, but she could access something better. She could access people. She called every contact she'd made in 3 years. Pilots, mechanics, schedulers, vendors, safety inspectors. She didn't ask for anything overtly. She simply reminded them of who she was, what she'd built, how she'd always treated them with respect. And she waited. The first crack appeared when a major vendor, the one supplying critical de-icing equipment, suddenly experienced delays in their delivery to Denver International. The equipment Amber had forgotten to reorder because she didn't understand seasonal requirements. The second crack appeared when 3 senior mechanics transferred to competing airports, citing management concerns. They were careful not to say Amber's name, but everyone knew. The third crack was the quiet rumor, started carefully by former colleagues who'd seen Lily's work ethic versus Amber's incompetence. Things were better before. David noticed. Of course he noticed. Lily was having coffee at a cafe near the airport, her first time back in the area, when she saw him pull into the parking lot in his Tesla. She watched through the window as he got out, on his phone, gesturing angrily. Even from a distance, she could see the stress in his shoulders. Things were falling apart, slowly, subtly, in ways he couldn't quite identify or stop. Her phone buzzed. Another text from Amber. David says you're sabotaging us. Stay away or we'll get a restraining order. You're pathetic. Lily smiled and typed back. I signed an NDA, remember? I'm staying far away. Whatever's happening at the airport has nothing to do with me. Good luck with the FAA audit, though. She knew the smiley emoji would drive Amber crazy. That night, Maria looked up from her laptop. I filed the wrongful termination lawsuit. Quietly, through a colleague's firm, so David doesn't know I'm involved yet. He'll be served in 2 weeks, right before Thanksgiving. And the embezzlement evidence? I've handed it to a friend at the FBI White-Collar Crime Division. Unofficially, off the record. She's interested. Very interested. Lily's baby kicked hard, as if celebrating. She was 6 months pregnant now, showing enough that strangers smiled at her in grocery stores, asked about her due date, told her she was glowing. She wasn't glowing. She was calculating. When do we go public? Lily asked. When we have everything. The audit failure, the embezzlement proof, the harassment documentation, the wrongful termination case. We build it all into one perfect, undeniable case. Then we destroy them so completely they never recover. Maria paused, studying Lily's face. You've changed, you know. 3 weeks ago you were devastated. Now you're dangerous. Lily finished. I'm dangerous. Good, Maria said. That's exactly what you need to be. What David and Amber didn't understand, what they couldn't understand, because they'd never had to fight for anything, was that Lily had spent her whole life being underestimated. Poor kid from the trailer park. Scholarship student at CU Boulder. Young woman in a male-dominated industry. She'd learned early that survival meant being smarter, working harder, and never, ever showing weakness until the moment you struck. They'd made the mistake of thinking pregnancy made her weak. They were about to learn it had only made her more determined. The FAA audit was scheduled for December 15th at 9 a.m. Lily wasn't supposed to be there. She'd been terminated, banned from airport property. But she didn't need to be there physically. She was watching from somewhere much better. At 8:47 a.m., Lily sat in Maria's office conference room, her laptop connected to a projector. With her were Maria, Jessica, her former assistant who'd quit 2 weeks prior, Robert Kim, the retired supervisor, and Marcus Chun, no relation, but an investigative journalist from the Denver Post, who'd been following her story for 3 weeks. Live feed is up, Jessica said, pulling up the airport's public security cameras.
Another gift from loyal former employees who still had system access and knew how to share it.
On screen, they could see the cargo terminal conference room. David sat at the head of the table, his tailored suit unable to hide the stress lines around his eyes. Amber sat to his right, wearing a designer dress and looking confident. Too confident for someone who'd lost 3 major contracts in 6 weeks. The FAA inspectors entered 4 of them, led by Senior Inspector Patricia Williams, a woman Lily had worked with for years. Mr. Martinez, Ms. Rodriguez, thank you for meeting with us. Patricia's voice came through clearly on the feed. Let's begin with your current safety compliance documentation. Lily watched Amber's face. This was the moment.
The test Amber couldn't possibly pass because she didn't understand the systems, had never learned the protocols, had been too busy playing office romance to actually do the job.
Amber pulled up a file on her laptop. Here's our complete safety documentation, updated as of last week. Patricia frowned at the screen. This shows your last level 3 inspection was completed in March. That's 9 months ago.
Federal regulations require quarterly level 3 inspections. Where are June, September, and December? Amber glanced at David. Those must be in a different file.
Find them, please. Amber's fingers flew across her keyboard. Her confidence was cracking.
The system is being temperamental today.
The system,
Jessica whispered in Maria's office, that I designed to be idiot-proof.
She can't find the files because she never created them. On screen, 15 minutes passed.
Amber couldn't produce the inspection records because they didn't exist. Because she hadn't scheduled them.
Because Lily had always been the one who handled that, and Amber had been too busy redecorating the office to learn the actual job. Ms. Rodriguez, Patricia said, her tone sharpening. Without those inspection records, your entire operation is in violation. We'll need to see maintenance logs, crew certifications, and equipment compliance reports. Immediately. Of course. Amber's voice had lost its sweetness. David, where did we file those? David's jaw clenched. You're the operations manager. You tell me. The first crack. I'm sorry, Amber snapped. I've been doing this job for less than 2 months. The previous manager left everything disorganized.
In Maria's office, Lily's laugh was cold.
Disorganized.
I left color-coded binders, digital backups, and a training manual that could run a small country.
Patricia wasn't smiling anymore. Who was your previous operations manager? Lily Chen, David said quickly. She was terminated for performance issues. Performance issues. Patricia looked at her notes. The same Lily Chen who achieved a 98% safety rating for 3 consecutive years. The Lily Chen who personally redesigned your entire cargo tracking system and reduced incidents by 43%.
That Lily Chen had performance issues?
David's face went carefully blank. Personnel matters are confidential. What's not confidential is FAA compliance. Patricia stood. Mr. Martinez, Ms. Rodriguez, I'm issuing a preliminary notice of violation. Your cargo division is suspended effective immediately pending a full investigation.
You have 72 hours to produce all required documentation or face permanent license revocation. Amber went pale.
You can't shut us down. We have contracts, obligations. You have violations, Patricia interrupted. This inspection is over. The FIA team left. The conference room camera showed David and Amber alone, the silence between them toxic. This is your fault, David finally said. You told me you could do this job. I can do this job. Your ex-wife obviously sabotaged. She's been gone for 2 months and signed an NDA. This isn't sabotage. This is incompetence. Amber's face flushed red. I've been working 80-hour weeks trying to fix the disaster she left behind. She left behind a division that was making $15 million a year. In 2 months, you've lost us 3 contracts and now our operating license. David's voice was rising.
My family has owned this airport for 40 years. 40 years.
And you just destroyed it. You're the one who wanted her gone. You're the one who said I could do better. Amber was shouting now. You're the one who embezzled money for our wedding and blamed it on her. The room went silent. Jessica rewound the feed. Did she just Admit to conspiracy, Maria finished, smiling. Yes, she did.
On a recorded airport security feed that's automatically saved to multiple servers, Lily's phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Miss Chen, this is Patricia Williams, FAA. Unofficial message. I know exactly what happened to you. I've worked in aviation for 30 years.
I know competence when I see it, and I know fraud.
File a formal complaint with us.
We'll support it. Lily forwarded the message to Maria. It's time, Maria said. At 11 a.m., the wrongful termination lawsuit became public record. By 11:30, the Denver Post had published Marcus Chen's article. Denver airport executive accused of firing pregnant wife, hiring mistress, embezzling millions. The article was devastating. It included timeline of Lily's achievements versus Amber's failures, documentation of David's embezzlement scheme, screenshots of Amber's harassing text to Lily, testimony from 8 former employees about the hostile work environment, photos of the stolen furniture from Lily's apartment, financial records showing David had removed Lily's name from all assets while she was pregnant. By noon, the story was viral. Local news trucks were pulling up to the airport. By 1 p.m., David's phone was ringing off the hook. Board members demanding explanations. Investors threatening to pull funding. The FBI White-Collar Crimes Division requesting an interview. At 2 p.m., David called Lily. She let it go to voicemail. Lily, we need to talk. This is getting out of hand. I know you're angry, but think about our baby.
Think about what this publicity will do to our child.
Call me back, please. The baby card. The last desperate play of a man who'd never actually cared about the baby. Lily deleted the message and posted something on LinkedIn instead. Thrilled to announce I'll be consulting with 3 major cargo operations on safety compliance and operational excellence. Excited for this new chapter. Thank you to everyone who supported me during my recent career transition. Your loyalty means everything. Within an hour, it had 10,000 likes. Comments poured in. We always knew you were the real talent. Justice for Lily. David Martinez is a disgrace. At 4 p.m., the airport's board of directors held an emergency meeting. David and Amber were not invited. At 5 p.m., a statement was released. David Martinez has been placed on administrative leave, pending investigation into financial irregularities. Amber Rodriguez's employment has been terminated effective immediately.
The board extends its sincerest apologies to Lily Chen and is reviewing all
circumstances of her departure. At 5:30 p.m., Lily received an email from the board's attorney. Ms. Chen, we would like to discuss terms for your reinstatement, back pay, and additional compensation. Please contact us at your earliest convenience. She forwarded it to Maria without responding. At 6 p.m., Amber called Lily. Lily answered this time, putting it on speaker so Maria could hear. You ruined my life, Amber was crying. I lost everything. My job, my reputation, David won't even talk to me anymore. He says this is all my fault. It is your fault, Lily said calmly. You slept with a married man, conspired to steal his pregnant wife's job, harassed her for weeks,
and were too incompetent to actually do the work. What did you think would happen?
I loved him. He told me he loved me. He told me that too.
Right up until he pushed me off a cliff to my professional death.
Lily's voice was ice.
The difference is, I climbed back up.
You're just learning what the fall feels like.
Please, Amber sobbed. Please tell them it wasn't my idea.
Tell them David forced me. You posted photos on Instagram bragging about taking my job. You texted me about your engagement while I was homeless and pregnant. You told people I was incompetent when you knew I'd built everything you destroyed. Lily paused. You're 26 years old, Amber. You're not a victim. You're just not very bright. She hung up. Maria was grinning.
That was cold. She earned it.
Lily stood, stretching her back. 7 months pregnant now, her belly swollen with the baby that had survived everything. What's next?
Next, the FBI formally charges David with embezzlement.
The board settles your lawsuit. I'm thinking $4 million minimum. You decide if you want your old job back or something better. Maria paused. And David loses everything. His position, his reputation, possibly his freedom. Lily's phone buzzed again. This time, a news alert. Amber Rodriguez arrested for harassment and conspiracy to commit fraud. Bail set at $50,000. Then another alert. FBI raids David Martinez's home and office. Investigation ongoing. Lily walked to Maria's window, looking out at the city.
Somewhere out there, David was watching his empire crumble.
Somewhere, Amber was realizing that stealing someone's life had consequences.
Somewhere, 8 former employees who testified for Lily were celebrating justice.
And here, in this quiet office, a pregnant woman who'd been thrown away like garbage stood tall, vindicated, and victorious. If you've ever been told you're not good enough, that your pregnancy makes you weak, that someone else deserves your success, remember this moment.
Remember that competence is permanent and fraud always fails.
And if this story is resonating with you, stay with us, because what comes next is even better. Her baby kicked, strong and insistent.
A reminder that she was building something new, something better. Something that couldn't be stolen.
I want something better, Lily said finally, answering Maria's question.
I want to start my own consulting firm.
I want to help other women who've been pushed out. And I want David to watch me succeed while he sits in a prison cell.
Now that, Maria said, raising her coffee cup in a toast, is a plan?
3 months later, Lily gave birth to a healthy baby boy at 2:47 a.m. on a snowy March morning. She named him James, after her father who'd passed before she was born. Maria was in the delivery room, holding her hand, being the family David had never truly been. The nurses commented on how strong she was, how she barely made a sound during labor. What they didn't know was that childbirth was nothing compared to what Lily had already survived. David sent flowers to the hospital. Lily had them donated to the children's ward without reading the card. By the time James was 6 weeks old, Lily had launched Chen Aviation Consulting from Maria's spare bedroom. Her first 3 clients were cargo operations that had worked with her at Denver International. They'd watched her get destroyed, then watched her rise. They knew talent when they saw it. Within 6 months, she had 12 clients across 4 states.
Within a year, she'd hired 8 employees, all women who'd been pushed out of aviation jobs for pregnancy, age, or gender. Her firm's reputation grew. Competent, ethical, unstoppable.
David's trial began that summer. The evidence was overwhelming.
$2.3 million in embezzled funds, fraud, conspiracy, the wrongful termination of a pregnant employee.
His lawyers tried everything, claiming Lily had fabricated evidence, suggesting she'd been incompetent and vindictive, painting Amber as an innocent victim manipulated by love.
The jury deliberated for 4 hours. Guilty on all counts. 15 years in federal prison. No parole eligibility for 8 years.
Amber took a plea deal 3 years for conspiracy and harassment, eligible for parole in 18 months. She testified against David, claiming he'd coerced her into everything. The judge didn't buy it, but accepted the plea to expedite David's sentencing. The day David was sentenced, Lily was closing a $10 million consulting contract with Southwest Airlines. She found out about the verdict from a news alert while nursing James in her new office, a renovated loft in Lodoo with mountain views and space for her growing team. She felt nothing.
Not joy, not satisfaction, not even relief.
David had become irrelevant. A cautionary tale she occasionally mentioned in interviews about workplace discrimination, but not someone who occupied space in her thoughts anymore.
The Denver International Airport Board settled her lawsuit for $6.2 million.
They also issued a public apology, offered her the position of Senior Vice President of Operations, 3 levels above her previous role, and renamed the cargo division's main terminal the Lily Chen Excellence Center. She declined the VP position.
"I'm building something bigger," she told them.
"But thank you." She took the $6.2 million and invested it in her firm,
in scholarships for women studying aviation management,
and in a trust fund for James that would ensure he never worried about money the way she had growing up. 2 years after the trial, Lily was invited to speak at a Women in Aviation conference in Chicago. The ballroom held 800 people. She stood at the podium, James's photo tucked in her jacket pocket, and told her story. "I was fired while pregnant," she began. "My husband replaced me with his mistress.
He stole my assets, destroyed my credit, and thought he destroyed my future.
He was wrong about that last part. The room was silent, every woman leaning forward.
Here's what David Martinez didn't understand. Competence is permanent. Fraud is temporary.
He could steal my job, my money, my dignity.
But he couldn't steal my knowledge, my relationships, or my refusal to stay down. She paused. The same skills that made me successful before made me dangerous when he tried to destroy me.
He created his own worst enemy.
She talked about the importance of documentation, of building genuine relationships, of never becoming so comfortable that you stop protecting yourself.
She talked about the women who'd stood by her, Maria, Jessica, Patricia Williams, and how solidarity had saved her.
Some people will tell you the best revenge is living well, Lily said.
I disagree.
The best revenge is being so competent, so successful, so undeniably excellent, that your enemies have to watch you thrive, while they drown in the consequences of their own
mediocrity. The standing ovation lasted 3 minutes.
Afterward, women lined up to talk to her. Some were crying, others wanted advice.
One young woman, 7 months pregnant with a visible baby bump, grabbed Lily's hand.
I'm being pushed out at work, she whispered. My boss hired someone younger. Says I'm not committed anymore. I'm terrified. Lily gave her a business card. Email me. We'll figure this out.
You're not alone. That night, Lily video called Maria from her hotel room.
James was on screen, 16 months old now, babbling at his grandmother by choice.
You know what's funny? Lily said. David thought firing me would end my career. Instead, it started my real career.
The one where I'm in control. The one where I help other women fight back.
He did you a favor, Maria agreed. Evil often does, when the person it targets refuses to break.
3 years after the trial, Lily received an email from David. He was allowed limited computer access in prison for rehabilitation programs.
Lily, I know I don't deserve forgiveness. I destroyed the best thing in my life because I was weak and selfish. Amber left me the moment I got sentenced. Haven't heard from her since.
My family disowned me. I lost everything. I think about James every day, wondering what kind of man he'll become. I hope he's nothing like me. I hope you've told him his father was a cautionary tale.
You deserved better.
You deserved everything. I'm sorry.
David. Lily read it once, then deleted it without responding.
Some apologies come too late. Some people don't deserve closure.
She never told James about David. As far as her son knew, his father was someone who made bad choices and wasn't part of their story.
When James was old enough to ask harder questions, she'd tell him the truth. But she'd also tell him about his grandmother who'd raised Lily alone, about Maria who'd given them sanctuary, about the women who'd rebuilt their lives after men tried to destroy them. James would grow up knowing that strength isn't about never falling. It's about refusing to stay down. Chen Aviation Consulting grew. By James's 5th birthday, Lily had 43 employees, offices in 6 cities, and annual revenue exceeding $50 million. She'd been featured in Forbes, Aviation Week, and Fast Company. She'd testified before Congress about pregnancy discrimination in the workplace. She'd funded a legal defense organization for women facing wrongful termination. She'd become more successful than David ever was, not because she wanted revenge, but because she was genuinely better at the work. On the 6th anniversary of the day she was fired, Lily drove to Denver International Airport with James. They stood outside the cargo terminal, looking at the building that bore her name now. "Mommy, why does the building say Chun?" James asked, holding her hand. "Because your mommy helped build something important here," Lily said. "And when people tried to take it away, she proved them wrong." "Were they mean to you?" "Very mean." "Did you cry?" "At first, but then I got smart instead of sad." James considered this with the seriousness of a 5-year-old processing complex truths. "I'm glad you got smart." "Me too, baby." "Me too." That evening, Lily received a LinkedIn message from Jessica, her former assistant who now ran operations for a major logistics company. "6 years ago today, I watched them humiliate you. I've never forgotten the look on your face, not defeated, just calculating. You taught me that silence isn't weakness. Sometimes it's strategy.
Thank you for showing all of us what real strength looks like. Lily smiled and typed back. Thank you for standing with me when it mattered. We rose together. 10 years after the firing, David was released on parole. He'd served 8 years of his 15-year sentence. He was 52 years old, unemployable in aviation, and living in a halfway house in Colorado Springs. He reached out once, asking if he could meet James. Lily's lawyer sent back a single-word response. No. Amber had disappeared from social media entirely after her release. Last Lily heard, she was working retail somewhere in Arizona, her MBA worthless with a fraud conviction on her record. Lily didn't follow up. Amber had earned her obscurity. As for Lily, she was sitting in her corner office on a Tuesday afternoon when James, now 15 years old, tall and thoughtful like his grandfather, had been knocked on her door. Mom, I have to write an essay about someone who inspires me. Can I write about you? You should write about someone famous. Lily deflected. You are famous. But that's not why you inspire me. James sat down, suddenly serious. You inspire me because when life destroyed you, you built something better from the pieces. You didn't become bitter. You became stronger. That's the person I want to be. Lily's eyes filled with tears. The good kind, the kind that comes from pride and love and knowing you did something right. Write whatever you want, she said softly. Just remember, the story isn't about falling. It's about what you do with the climb back up. Years later, when Lily retired at 65, having built one of the most respected aviation consulting firms in North America, having mentored hundreds of women, having changed industry standards for pregnancy discrimination, she wrote one final LinkedIn post. They tried to erase me. Instead, they freed me to become someone better. To every woman who's been fired, betrayed, or told she's not enough, your competence is permanent. Their fraud is temporary. Document everything. Build real relationships. Stay smart. And when they knock you down, get back up and show them what a mistake they made. The best revenge isn't bitterness, it's building something so successful they can't ignore it. Thank you for letting me tell my story. Now go write yours. The post received 2.4 million views. Thousands of comments from women who'd survived their own betrayals, fought their own battles, built their own victories. Lily Chun had become more than a success story. She'd become proof that intelligence, integrity, and resilience beat cruelty every single time. She'd shown the world that being underestimated is only dangerous when you prove them catastrophically wrong. David Martinez spent the rest of his life as a footnote in her story. The man who tried to destroy a woman and accidentally created an empire instead. And James? James grew up to be a labor rights attorney who specialized in defending pregnant workers. Because some legacies aren't about money or buildings or names on terminals. Some legacies are about teaching the next generation that justice isn't given, it's fought for, won, and fiercely protected. If you've made it this far, you already know what this story is really about. It's not about revenge, it's about resurrection. It's about refusing to let someone else's cruelty define your future. And if you've ever been pushed down, pushed out, or pushed aside, remember your fall is just the beginning of their nightmare. Now go build something they can't destroy.